Thank you, Lindsay, and what a powerful music director we have. I, I texted her and asked if she could do that song, and she had really never run across it, so I sent her the YouTube video, and we get this stand-up performance today. How about a little bit more love for Lindsay for being so talented? But I was listening to the Grammy and I heard that song. And Post Malone was very actually close to my family. Actually, my brother and his wife grew up a few doors down from him in Grapevine, Texas. He was called Austin Post back then, though. And so it was interesting because Gabe and Haley, Nicole's kids, were all visiting my family, and they were just amazed that my brother knew Post Malone. But anyway, he's talking about, if we take that song, you can listen to that song in two ways. You can listen to that song of maybe a relationship with a man and a woman or a couple of partners talking to each other, or you can take that song and listen to the concept of circles, and that's what I want to bring out today. The concept of circles on whether you choose to follow the circle that's definitely been ego-based, fear-based, that other people have outlined for you and saying this is the way your life needs to unfold. Like a habitual way of being that if we don't follow the guidelines, we'll be left out, or fear-based, remember, will be hurt, or we won't have as much, or our life will be limited. And so it's based on the prevailing thought of the human race and what other people have said is good and everything like that. But what I'm going to ask us to do is to go within to that powerful place inside of us where instead of listening to the external world, we can listen to that great divine voice inside of us. Some of us may call it our divine soul. Some of us think of soul that way. If that works for you, that's fine. And this is a very old concept because circles has been through 3,000 years of generations been a teaching. So there's a book called the Tibetan Book of the Dead. It was written in the 8th century by a Buddhist monk. And I could do a 4-week class on that. I'm not. But what it's about, see, the Buddhist and the Hindu believe in the circle of samsara, where you go through life experience under life experience until you see the light of the divine and you reach enlightenment. And so after your life experience, there's a period there. There's multiple what they call bardos. I won't go into that. So what happens is you have a chance. And if you see the light of the divine, you have a chance to get off this circle of samsara, this circle of this limited life experience, and move on to a better expression. Sometimes if you have a glimpse of a light, you move back into expression, according to their tradition, but yet you come as an enlightened being, so to speak. And it's interesting because this concept of circles, flash forward to the mid-1800s with our forefather of New Thought, Ralph Waldo Emerson. He wrote this fabulous essay we call Circles. And for us scholars, that's where we were introduced to the concept of the thing we call law, or the creative medium, that applies to nature and applies to the metaphysical stuff, and it gave us the basis of our affirmative spiritual prayer. Very powerful thing, scholarly. But John, could I have my next slide? But what Emerson said, yeah. I missed the Post Malone slide. Oh, no, take me back to the Post Malone slide. I'm sorry. So these are these great words in that song. Seasons change and our love went cold. Feed the flame because we can't let go. Run away, but we are running in circles. So what I'm trying to say is we can feed the flame of the circle that's been predetermined for us, or we can go within and get more power and get more joy and get more love and uplift the entire situation. So now if you could fast forward to my Emerson slide. So this is what Emerson saw. He said, your line of vision is your circle. And it's for you to do, no, the one before that. The graphic. Is it closed? Is there one right before it?
There's no one before it.
Is there a graphical one with a bunch of eyes on it? That's what I want. So maybe it's a little hard to see from way back there. So what Emerson saw was your eye is your vision. And this vision that you have becomes your influence. And the way to increase that influence is first doing it by doing ethical things. But then you get beyond doing ethical things, and now you're doing things that are spiritually driven. Spiritually driven from the divine influx inside of you. And you notice that these circles get bigger and bigger, and you notice that the circles commingle with each other. So that was his vision of how your life experience would go as you grew, both ethically at first and then spiritually. Your influence would influence more and more people. And it's a powerful thing. And that same aspect of growing ethically and then spiritually we have in the old Chinese tradition, where Confucianism talked about the spiritual person doing better, more ethical things, and they did that over and over again. And then Taoism came along and said, well, that's all well and good, but there's a time to listen to the nature. There's a time to listen to the Tao. There's a time to understand what's inside of you from a spiritual perspective and to bring it out. No matter what the dogma, no matter what the word of the day is. It's a powerful place for us to be. So Emerson was telling us we can always recreate our life from a grander idea. So he was following through. And I get my first Emerson quote now. He says, no truth so sublime, but it may be trivial tomorrow in the light of new thoughts. People wish to be settled. Only as far as they are unsettled is there any hope for them. So what he was saying is you always got to be going within and expanding your mind and recreating your life. There's no such thing as the status quo, or if you're in the status quo, it's going to be very limited to you. And then he says it's all fleeting, and John, could you get my just next Emerson quote there? And he says everything looks permanent until its secret is known. So what if our experience is a series of circles that we get to view? And we get to view and make a choice whether we're going to live our life on the predefined circle that someone else subscribed for us, or if we're going to go within to that powerful and expressive space of who we really are. And what if it's a way for us to be led to our divine soul, rather than to just say, I'm going along with the outward world? A famous 19th century standard Christian theologian, Paul Tillich, stepped out on a limb, and when the big argument was, what is sin? He says, sin is nothing more than estrangement. Sin just means that we found our way. So to find our way is not going to be the way that's been subscribed over and over for us. To find our way is to go within, to know the truth, to know the power, to know the love, to know the joy of who we are. So maybe this thing, and I keep talking about it because Ernest Holmes says, if what we teach is spiritual, it has to have everyday application. So in this land of COVID experience that we're in, looks like we're close to pushing our way through it. It's sort of learning what is good for us, maybe so we don't repeat the same mistakes over and over again. Maybe we need to stop relying on the things in the external world that made us happy. It's made us come back within, be comfortable with ourselves, be comfortable with some silence. And as Dr. King says, it makes us comfortable with relying what Dr. King would call soul power, would call love, to show us the way. We've had this conversation in a men's group several times that we were talking about, after COVID is over, it's going to be a different world for us. I mean, just look at what's happened during COVID for us. Everybody in this room and everybody out there was introduced to this thing we couldn't even pronounce at first called Zoom. And now we have our classes on it, we have our annual meetings on it, and actually, in a lot of ways, I sort of prefer it for sometimes because, I have some of the classes, people have said they couldn't come, they wouldn't have made the traffic commute, but on Zoom they can make it. So let's think about this circle. And let's think about getting off the edge of the circle. So even the unhappy times, maybe it's like Gary Zukov told us in The Seat of the Soul, it's the unhappy times are the earth school teaching us the way. The earth school are teaching us what's not working so we can make another choice. And if we have to make a choice that's not by the circle of human experience, where's that choice got to come? It's got to come from within. It's got to come from the divine. It's got to come from our soul, which doesn't have the fear that the ego does. It's time to look at ourselves and times to be more comfortable with ourselves each and every day. It's a very, very powerful time for us. Maybe it's time to sever some of the dogma that we've had about the human race. Maybe our egos are ready to stop clinging to doing things exactly the way we've done them before. Maybe our egos are ready to step back and our soul to step forward and to express that beauty and look at the world in a new way of doing things. Because that's what we teach here. We teach that the mind expands us. And each of you in this room and each of you watching have really taken that first step to get off the edge of the circle and get into that expansive divine space inside of it that is you projecting as you grow spiritually. You've made the first step already. My favorite saying from Ernest Holmes is, God is always God, and we are always at choice. So we have this divine inheritance. God or spirit, the universe, or love, or life wants us to be happy and joyful and prosperous and abundant. That's never at issue. There's not crosses for us to bear. There's not barriers. There's not year-long and decade-long punishments for what some people call sin. But we have to participate. So if we really want a positive world, we must live and breathe positive energy. Don't we have to? Because what we think, as Wayne Dyer would say, what we think about expands. So as for instance, if I'm having a terrible day, I can spiral my thoughts down. I can start shouting bitter things at people. I can get distracted driving and almost have a wreck. Or I can see that as just a day that's unfolding. And I can change that because all I can do now is I can change my mind about what I really believe in. Do I really believe there's an external world that's giving me a bad day? And if I say no, then I can make another choice. We can do the same thing. The most important thing I think we can do is our situation with love. Because the first step, we can look on the outward edge of the circle and have all these definitions of what love means, and if a person loved you, they would do this, that, and they wouldn't do this, that, and that. Or we can go within. We can go within and just feel and express the love of the divine that is absolutely inside of us. So can we just take that a minute? Can we just do that a minute together? So raise up your arms and feel the power and the expression. Feel the divine love and joy and abundance that is within you right this very minute, right this very second. And just embrace that. Feel how good it feels. Feel how it really is you. And just take your arms and transfer all that love of the universe that was inside of you into yourself. And know that it is good and powerful and wonderful. And it is you. It is the divine in you. So now what we can do is we can love ourselves exactly as we are, and we see those that we're in relationship exactly as they are. And we no longer have to place judgments on it because we've grown within to become that love essence that Dr. King talked about all the time, that if all we are is love, we emanate love, and there's no expectations. And if a person that we're in relationship with is doing a certain thing, that's them, that's what they're doing. And if it's bothering us, one of the great teachers, Emma Curtis Hopkins, would tell us, if you spot it, you got it, meaning any trait a person is doing that's really bothering you, it's your work to do inside of you because that trait you do yourself. Or as Wayne Dyer would say, when you judge another person, you're not judging that person as bad. You're just defining yourself as a person that truly needs to judge. So, my message to you is, it's a good message. Yeah, we have to give up some of our comfort zone by being on the outward part of that circle that gave us comfort and stability. So John, could I have that next to the last slide? So this is my advice. Live your life, take chances, be crazy, don't wait. Because the truth is, right now is the oldest you've ever been and the youngest you will ever be again. Isn't that great? So however old we are, we're young. And however young we are, we're old and wise. And so that's my message. Let's celebrate. Let's look at the life of circles, however you want to look at it. You can go back 2,000 years. You can listen to the Post Malone song and feel it and stop chasing that circle. And not letting that love go cold, you can go within and keep that love warm. And so I just let you go with my final slide. This is how I picture all of us. There we go. So anyway, enjoy your life in the middle of the circle and just experience it and see how it works for you. God bless you. I love you. Namaste.